ॐ गणानां त्वा गणपतिगं हवामहे कविं कवीनाम् उपमश्रवस्तमं ज्येष्ठराजं ब्रह्मणां ब्रह्मणस्पत आनशृण्वन्नोतिभिक्षीदसादनं प्रणो देवी सरस्वती वाजेभिर्वाजिनीवती दीनामवित्रगवतो गणेशाय नमः सरस्वत्यै नमः श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः हरः ॐ श्री महागणाधिपतये नमः सदाशिवसमारम्भां श्रीकण्ठाराध्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्परां सदाशिवसमारम्भां नीलकण्ठाराध्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्परां साम्ब शिवाय नमः. So let's go through the meaning of Abhilasha Ashtakam. Last class we saw the stotra of Abhilasha Ashtakam, which is a very important stuti, as I have mentioned before. It comes in two places exactly in the exact same stuti comes in the two Puranas. Shiva Mahapurana, Shatarudra Samhita, chapter 13, Skanda Purana, Kashikanda, chapter 10. So very important stuti which is sung by a great devotee of Lord Shiva named Vishwanara Maharshi. So let's go through the verses. Ekam Brahmaiva Dvitiyam Samastam. So which means that Brahman, that supreme reality, is one without a second. There is nothing that is equal to him. There is nothing that is greater than him. And that is Paramashiva. Now this verse is really interesting because there are three Vakyams. There are three Vedanta Vakyams in this verse. In the first verse of Abhilasha Ashtakam. Ekam Brahmaiva Dvitiyam comes in the Chandogya Upanishad, 6th canto, 2nd chapter, 1st verse. So, and then that Brahman is one without a second. There is nothing that is equal to him. There is nothing that is greater than him. Satyam Satyam Neha Nanasti Kinchana. This is the truth. There cannot be many multiple truths. Only one thing, only one object can be the absolute truth, and that is Paramashiva. That Paramashiva alone can be the absolute truth. There cannot be multiple truths. Nehananasti Kinchana. And this is also, Nehananasti Kinchana is also a Vedanta Vakyam that comes in the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, 4th canto, 4th chapter, 20th verse. See, and then Eko Rudro Nad Vidiyayataste. Very beautiful. That Paramashiva, O Mahadeva, Samba Shiva, Chandrasekhara, Neelakanta, Ramanatha, Rameshwara, Natraja, Thiruvannamalai, Arunachaleshwara, Ekambaranatha, you are that one without a second. Eko Rudro Nadvitiyaya. There is nothing that is equal to you. There is nothing that is greater than you. And this is a wonderful Vedanta Vakyam that comes in the Atharva Shiras Upanishad, Shweta Ashvatara Upanishad, 3rd chapter, 2nd verse. And it also comes in the Yajurveda Taittiriya Samhita, Krishna Yajurveda Taittiriya Samhita, 1st canto, 8th chapter, 6th verse. In the Pratipurusha Mega Kapalan verse. And then Eko Rudro Nadvitiya, you are that one without a second. And Tasmad Ekam Tvam Prapadye Mahesham. Since you are that one ultimate reality, that there is nothing that is equal to you, there is nothing that is greater than you, O Mahadeva, hence I surrender only to you. Now moving on to the second verse, Ekah Karta. You are that one ultimate Karta. Karta means the cause or the creator, the cause of everything. There is no cause for the ultimate cause. In the Yoga Tattva Upanishad and Yoga Yajnavalkya Smriti, and also in Panchabrahma Upanishad, it says that Samba Shiva, who represents the Vyoma or the Akasha, who has beautiful 5 faces, Sadyojata, Vamadeva, Agora, Tatpurusha, Ishana, and he has a Chandra, and he has beautiful 3 eyes in each face, and then he is having Adi Parashakti on his left lap. That Paramashiva is to be meditated upon, and he is described as Sarva Karana Karana. Sarva Karana Karana means he is the cause of all causes. There is no cause for him. He is the ultimate cause of all. Sarva Karana Karana. And in Panchabrahma Upanishad it says, Adavante cha madhye cha bhasase nanya hetuna mayaya mohitaha shambhor mahadevam jagadgurum na jananti suraha sarve sarva karana karanam. Even the Devas and Danavas, even the Devas like Brahma, Vishnu and Indra cannot understand him, and he is the cause of all causes. Na sandrishe tishtati rupamasya paratparam purusham vishvadama. The material eyes cannot, with our material eyes, we cannot see his ultimate spiritual form. Mahadeva is spiritual completely. His form is spiritual. Shuddha Spatika Sankasham Trinetram Panchavaktarakam Gangadaram Dashabhujam Sarvabharana Bhushitam. Hiranyabhagave Hiranyavarnaya. He is golden. He is completely golden in color. He is camphor white in color. That's how he is described in the Vedas and Upanishads. His form is completely spiritual. And we need, that's why it says, Na Sandrishay Tishtati Rupamasya Paratparam Purusham Vishwadama. That Paratpara Purusha, that ultimate Purusha, that ultimate supreme reality cannot be seen with this material eyes. We need Divya Chakshu. So, Ekah Karta. And since it is mentioned about Karta, the cause, I remember a story. It reminds me of a story where Vyasa Maharshi, he comes to Kashi. And then there, 88,000 sages are sitting and then listening Shivakatha. They are completely with Basma, decorated with the holy Basma, and also the Basma is also, and they have a Basma on their forehead, and then they have Rudraksha, and they are worshipping the Linga and everything. And then they are hearing Shivakatha, and then Vyasa Maharshi comes there and then makes a very, he makes a statement saying that Hari is the essence of all the Vedas and Upanishads, and Hari alone should be meditated upon. That is Vishnu. And then all the 88,000 sages are completely shocked. Oh my God. So how can Vyasa Maharshi make such a statement, and that too in Kashi? Kashi is the, like, Vishwanatha. Vishveshwara resides. He is the Lord of Kashi. And how can Vyasa, who is the knower of the Vedas, can make such a statement in Kashi? They were wondering. And then Vyasa, as usual, he goes and then Vyasa Maharshi, he goes and he does his prayers. He does his Sandhya Vandanam, and while doing his Sandhya Vandanam, he tries to do his Achamanam, and at that time Nandi senses some kind of arrogance. Okay, this Vyasa has become arrogant, and then with just his look, he paralyzes the hands of Vyasa and the whole body of Vyasa. So he is trying to do his Achamanam. Vyasa Maharshi tries to do his Achamanam, and then he is not able to do it. His hands becomes paralyzed, and his body also becomes paralyzed. And then he, looking at his predicament, Narayana or Vishnu comes from Vaikunta. And then he says, you have committed the greatest offense, Vyasa. The greatest offense you have committed. Aishwaryam. I have acquired Aishwaryam by the grace of Lord Shiva. I have become Lakshmi Pati by the grace of Lord Shiva. It is described in the Parashara Puranam that Lakshmi was acquired by Vishnu by doing Shiva Puja continuously. That's how he acquired Lakshmi. Lakshmi originates from the Sadyojata phase of Lord Shiva. Rama Brahma Trivritswara. Sadyojatam Mahipusham Rama Brahma Trivritswaraha. Says in the Panchabrahma Upanishad. Rama originates from the Sadyojata phase of Lord Shiva. And Lakshmi is like the prosperity. Lakshmi was acquired by Narayana by the grace of Paramashiva. And then he says that, Narayana says that to Vyasa. The Aishwaryam or the opulence, Aishwaryam comes from the root word Ishvara. And Ishvara is Mahadeva, and Ishvara is an epithet that is used very commonly for Mahadeva. So, I have acquired Aishwaryam only by the grace of Lord Shiva. I have become Lakshmipati by the grace of Lord Shiva. And I have acquired the post of Vaikunta. By the grace of Parashakti and Paramashiva. This is there told in many Puranas and many places in the Shastras. And then he says, and then Vishnu says one more very interesting thing to Vyasa. Oh Vyasa, listen. Yajnakarta Devendraha. Yajnakarta, the Lord of Yajnas is Devendra or Indra or Mahendra, the king of heaven. Vedakarta Hiranyagarbha. Vedakarta. That's why Hiranyagarbha is Brahmadeva. That's why the Gayatri mantra for Hiranyagarbha says, Vedatmanaya vidmahe Hiranyagarbhaya dhimhi tanno Brahma prachodayat. Vedakarta is Hiranyagarbha. And then Narayana says to Vyasa, Ahameva Jagatkarta. Oh, Vyasa, I am the Jagatkarta. I am the cause of this universe. I am the creator of this universe. But he doesn't stop there. He says, Mamakarta Maheshwaraha. But the cause of me, the creator of me is Parashakti and Paramashiva. Is that Maheshwara, Samba Shiva, Chandrasekhara, Neelakanta, Devadeva, Mahadeva, that Maheshwara is actually is the one who created me. That Maheshwara and Parashakti. So if you have to glorify someone, then just glorify him. That's why it says, our Upanishad says, Shiva Eko Dhyeyaha. Don't worship anybody apart from Mahadeva. Shiva is the only object of meditation. There is nothing else. Atharvashika Upanishad says. And Narayana concedes to it. Narayana says that, Narayana accepts that by saying to Vyasa Maharshi, just glorify Mahadeva. And then Vyasa does a stuti that is called as Vyasa Ashtakam that comes in the 95th chapter of Kashi Kanda in Skanda Purana. Very beautiful stuti. We can run through that stuti in the next class. So we see that the ultimate cause of all causes is Mahadeva only. And there cannot be any cause for him. So there might be a doubt, okay, fine. Is there any cause for Mahadeva? No, there is no cause. He is the ultimate cause of all causes. And Tvamhi Sarvasya Shambho. You are that everything. You are the creator of everything. Sarvo vai Rudraha. You are the creator of everything. Nana Rupeshu Eka Ruposi Arupaha. You are present with a form and also present without a form. Now, that Arupa aspect is the aspect of that formed Maheshwara. Kaivalya Upanishad says, Uma Sahayam Parameshwaram Prabhum Trilochanam Neelakantam Prashantam Gyatva Munirgachadi Bhutayonim Samasta Saksham Tamasak Parastha. Uma Sahayam, the personality who is eternally with Parashakti, meditate on him. Parameshwara, Prabhu, Trilochanam, he is three-eyed. Neelakanta, he has, because of drinking the halahala poison, he drank the halahala poison to save the entire universe and also to save the Devatas like Indra, Brahma and Vishnu. And then he drank the halahala poison and his throat became blue in color. That's why Neelakantam Prashantam Yatva Munirgachati Bhuta Yonim Samasta Saksham Tamasak Parastat. By meditating on him, one goes beyond the repeated shackles, repeated cycles of birth and death. It says, and that Mahadeva is present everywhere. And that is why sometimes he is described as Arupa also. Tat Arupam Anamayam, Shvetashvatar Upanishad says. So that's why his Mahadeva is described also as Arupa. That Mahadeva is present everywhere. His presence is everywhere. And that is why it is described as Arupaha. And Yadvat Pratyapsu Arkaha Ekopi Anekaha Tasmat Nanyam Tvam Vinesham Prapadye. So just like if you see the same sun, the sun is there, which is millions and millions of miles away from us. But you can see the same sun in a water or in a pond, in a lake. But that is just a reflection, right? That is just a reflection. The original sun is still millions and millions of miles away from us. And that original sun is Paramashiva. And he is that ultimate source of everything. So we need to surrender to him alone and not anyone else. And that's how Rajau Sarpak Shuktikaya. Moving to the third verse. Rajau Sarpak Shuktikayam Charupyam. Narak Purak Tan Mrigakye Marichau Yadvat Tadvat Vishpak Eshak Prapanchaha Yaspinyate Tam Prabadye Mahesham. The very beautiful verse. There are many ways we can understand things, so they're like there are Advaitic messages and Vishishta Advaitic messages and Dvaitic messages also. So for example, if you say Sarvo Vai Rudraha, the Vedanta says Sarvo Vai Rudraha, Sarvam Kalvidam Brahma. Sarvo Vai Rudraha. Paramashiva is present everywhere. Everything is Paramashiva. So now a doubt comes. Okay. So then we are Paramashiva. Okay, you are Paramashiva. I am Paramashiva. Then we should be able to do whatever he is able to do, right? So we cannot create Veerabhadra out of our hair locket. We cannot drink an ocean of poison. We cannot create. We cannot maintain. We cannot destroy the universe. We cannot put the jivas into illusion, that is concealment. When we ourselves are in illusion, we ourselves are suffering. In Maya, we cannot put others into illusion. That's why Mayam tum Prakritim Vidya Mayinam tu Maheshwaram. Shvetashvatara Upanishad 4.10, 4th chapter, 10th verse says that Maya is under the control of Maheshwara, Samba Shiva, Chandrasekhara. He is the one who is controlling Maya. And then to win over Maya, you have to surrender to him. And then finally, Anugraha. Can we give anugraham? First of all, when we ourselves are taking repeated births and deaths, how can we give anugraham for other jivas? So now this doubt pops up. So there is a Vishishtadvaitik understanding also. There are like, if you see in the Vedanta, there is like Abheda Shrutis, Beda Shrutis and Gataka Shrutis. Now, coming to the Vishishtadvaitik messages in the Vedanta, Kad Rudraya Prachetase Metushtamaya Tavyase Vochema Shantamagam Hrude. So that Paramashiva who is said to be who is said to be present everywhere is also residing in the heart of the jivas. Vochema Shantamagam Hrude. And Kritpundarikam Virajam Vishuddham Vichintya Madhye Vishadam Vishokam. Kaivalya Upanishad. Kritpundarikam. Asmin Brahmapure. Kritpundarikam means in the heart. He is lying in the heart. Recess of the heart. Mahadeva is lying in the heart actually. And Asmin Brahmapure Veshma Dakaram Yididam Mune Pundarikam tu Tanmadye Akasho Dakaro Stitat Sa Shivaha Sachidanandaha Sonveshtavyo Mumukshubhihi Ayam Hridi Stitaha Sakshi Sarvesham Avisheshataha Tenayam Hridayam Proktaha Shivaha Samsara Mochakaha. Panchabrahmopanishad last verse it says the Harakasham or Hridayakasham. Mahadeva represents that Akasha means that ether, and that ether is represented by Samba Shiva. And that Samba Shiva is the one who should be meditated upon. Shambhura Akasha Madhye Atharva Shika Upanishad. Shambhura Akasha Madhye Dhruvam Shiva Eko Dhyayaha. That Samba Shiva who represents that Akasha is the one who should be meditated upon. This is told in the again Atharva Shika Upanishad. And we have many other Upanishads. Taittiriya Upanishad says Saya Esho Antar Hridaya Akasha Hiranmaya Purushaha. How it describes, you see, Hiranmaya Purushaha. He is the golden Purusha, and that's how Mahadeva alone is described as golden in color. Namo Hiranyabhagave, Hiranyavarnaya, Hiranyarupaya, Hiranyapatage, Ambikapatage, Umapatage, Pashupatage, Namo Namaha. Hiranyaya Namaham, Hiranyalingaya Namaham. Hiranmaya Purushaha. Taittiriya Upanishad says. Rukma Varna, Mundaka Upanishad says. Ishavasya Upanishad says, Hiranmayena Patrena Satyasya Pikitam Mukam Tattvam Pushan Apavranu Satya Dharmaya Drishtaya. He is with the golden effulgence. Ishavasya Upanishad. And the same verse comes in Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. Chandogya Upanishad also says, Hiranyashmashru Keshaha. So there are many, even the Manusmriti also, if you see, there are places where actually Lord Shiva is described as golden in color. Mahadeva. So everything is Mahadeva is the only personality who is described as golden in color, not Indra or Brahma or Vishnu in the Shastras. So so that like where actually we see there are like Gataka Shrutis where Vishishtadvaitik the messages where Vishishtadvaitik message is conveyed. And there are like if you see Dvaita messages also conveyed, you see Yo Devanam Prabhavaschodbhavascha Vishvadipo Rudro Maharshihi. It says that Mahadeva, Samba Shiva, is beyond the universe. He has nothing to do with this universe. So one Shruti says everything is Paramashiva, and the other Shruti says Paramashiva is present as our Antaratma and we are present as his body. And then another Shruti says that he has nothing to do with this universe. He is beyond this universe. Now how to, if you correlate everything and understand everything, if you correlate everything and see, Vishishtadvaitam alone will make sense. That Mahadeva is present as the Antaratma and we are present as his body. We are his part and parcels at the end of the day. And this world, if you see, Ishavasyam idagam sarvam yatkincha jagatyam jagat. Ishavasya Upanishad says the first verse. Everything animate and inanimate is under the control of Mahadeva. That's what Ishavasya Upanishad says. And when we start realizing that, because whatever we go behind in this world, whichever name, fame, wealth, knowledge, beauty, power, and even if you get a beautiful wife and or even if you are behind children, everything is temporary. Finally, you cannot escape death. And that's why Tamevam Vidvan Amrita Ihabhavati Nanyah Panta Ayanaya Vidyate. We see Shvetashvatara Maharshi and Markandeya Maharshi escaping death by the grace of Shiva, and Shvetaketu Maharshi also surrenders to Shiva, who is mentioned in the Chandogya Upanishad. He surrenders to Mahadeva and finally he wins over Mrityu. There is only one way to cross over the repeated cycles of birth and death, only surrendering to Paramashiva. So when you start utilizing everything in this world in the favor of Mahadeva, then that is how you are leading a good life. And that is how you finally go back to Mahadeva and attain his lotus feet. And you also escape from the repeated cycles of birth and death. That's what it's told here. Like, this world originates from that Mahadeva. So we have to use the whatever activities that we are doing and whatever things we see in this world, everything belongs to him. So we have to utilize that in his favor. You have to we have to serve him at the end of the day. We have to use everything in his service. So that's the message that is conveyed here. And then the next verse, Toye Shaityam Dahakatvam cha vakhnau tapo banau shita banau prasadaha pushpe gandak dugdamadyepi sarpihi yattat shambho tvam tatak tvam prapadye. This is a very, again, interesting verse which conveys the Vishishtadvaitic message. It says, the coldness in the water and the intense heat in the fire. Now we see the fire, the heat and the fire are inseparable. They are non-different. But the heat originates from the fire. The fire is like compared to Mahadeva, and the heat is us, we the Jivas. And the coldness in the water is actually compared to Mahadeva, and the coldness is actually what we are. And the heat in the sun, the heat again is actually we the Jivas, and the sun is actually described as Paramashiva. So the Vishishtadvaitic message where he resides in the heart of all the living entities and we are his part and parcels. We are his body and he is our Antaratma. That is the message conveyed here. Very beautiful verse. And moving on. Shabdam granhasi ashravah tvam hi jigrehe agranak tvam yamgrih ayasi durad yakshah pashyehe tvam rasagnopi ajihvaha kah tvam samyak veti atah tvam prapadye. Says, you hear without ears and you smell without nose, and you come from a distance, but you are without feet. You don't have a feet, and this is like if you see, it seems like conveying the message of Mahadeva being a formless entity. But no, when it says you hear without ears, Mahadeva doesn't have ears like us. He doesn't have a nose like us. He doesn't have a feet like us. Mahadeva is completely spiritual. His form is completely spiritual. All other forms, we are all material. We are bound by birth, old age, disease and death. But Mahadeva is not bound by birth, old age, disease or death. He is beyond that. And he is the grantor of liberation. He is puts the jivas into Maya. And his form is completely spiritual. And that's why Ishavasya Upanishad 5th verse says, Tat ejati tad naijati tad dure tad antike tad antarasya sarvasya tadu sarvasyasya bahyataha. The Supreme Lord walks and does not walk. He is far away, but he is near as well. Now it says he is far away, but he is near as well. So how to understand this? He is far away in the sense, in terms of consciousness, we are not conscious of Mahadeva. Our consciousness is completely, they are behind name, fame, wealth, knowledge, beauty and power. Our consciousness is not dedicated to Mahadeva. So in that way, he is far away completely from us. But he is also very near to us. How? He is residing in the heart of all the living entities and watching. And that's why there are many places we saw in the Shastras where Mahadeva, Samba Shiva, Chandrasekhara is residing in the heart of all the living entities. In that way, he is very, very near to us. So he is far away in terms of consciousness. We have not dedicated our consciousness. We are not conscious of Mahadeva, but he is conscious of us completely. And then he is near to us as well, and he is residing in the heart of all the living entities and all the jivas. And here there is also another interesting verse which says, Vishvatas chakshuruta vishvato muko vishvato bahuruta vishvataspa sambahubhyan damati sampatatrair dyava bhumi janayan deva ekaha. It comes in the Shiva Sankalpa Suktam, it comes in the Mahanarayana Upanishad, and also in the Shvetashvatara Upanishad. So it's like Mahadeva's hands are present everywhere. Vishvatas Chakshuhu, the entire universe is actually the eyes of Mahadeva. And Vishvato Mukho, the entire universe is actually the Mukha of Mahadeva. And Vishvato Hasta, the entire universe is actually are the hands of Mahadeva. That Mahadeva is all pervading, and his hands and his feet are everywhere. Apani pado javano grahita pashyatya chakshuhu sa shranayotya karnaham sa veti vedyam nacha tasyasti veta tam ahur agryam purusham mahantam. It says grasping without hands and hasting without feet, and it also like Mahadeva sees without eyes. So again, like his form is completely spiritual. He doesn't have eyes like us, he doesn't have ears like us. Everything is spiritual with Mahadeva. He is eternal. His form is also eternal. Whereas we are bound by birth, old age, disease and death. So that's the understanding here. That's how we need to understand. And then Kahtvam samyak veti ataktvam prabhadye. Who can know you properly? Vishwanara Maharshi says, who can know you? Who can understand you, Mahadeva? Anadyantam adyam param tattvamartam Chidakaramekam turiyam tvamekam hari brahmamrigyam param brahmorupam manovagaditam magakshayvamide. No one can understand you. Even Brahma and Hari were searching for the beginning and end. Brahma took the form of a swan. Brahma and Hari were fighting together out of Ahankara. Brahma said, I am the supreme. Hari said, hey Brahma, I am the supreme reality. And then both were fighting, and Mahadeva comes in the size of a span. Angushta purushontaratma. Angushta he comes in the size of a span, size of a thumb. In the size of a thumb, he appears in front of Brahma and Hari, and that's why in the Vedas and Upanishads it is described Angushta Mahadeva resides in the form, in the size of a thumb, in the heart. So when you usually people do a thumbs up, if you see thumbs up. So when you keep your hand in the thumbs up form, you will see that it is exactly looking like a Shivalinga. If you notice. And in that form, he is present. Mahadeva is present. And that Mahadeva is divine completely. He has a very beautiful form. And that Linga represents the Arupa aspect. You are going to see that his all-pervasiveness. The Linga represents his Mahadeva's and Parashakti's all-pervasiveness. But behind that, he has a very beautiful form, spiritual form. Shuddha Spatika Sankasham Trinetram Panchavaktarakam Hiranyabhagave Hiranyavarnaya. So Brahma and Hari, they were looking at that linga in the size of a span. And then it grew completely it was completely infinite in nature. And then Brahma took the form of a swan, and then went in search of the beginning or the head of Mahadeva. And then Hari took the form of a boar, and went in search of his feet. They were not able to find out, and they were fighting out of Ahankara, and then they realized that Mahadeva can only be the ultimate reality. Samba Shiva. So, no one can understand Mahadeva except himself. That's why in Ishvara Gita, it says, the sages invoke Narayana and ask him about Brahma Tattva, ask him about the supreme reality. Brahma Tattva means the supreme reality. And then Narayana invokes Maheshwara and he says to Maheshwara, oh Maheshwara, these sages are asking about Brahma Tattva, the supreme reality. You alone are the supreme reality. And you alone know yourself. No one can understand you. Only you know yourself. So you have to explain about yourself. That's how Ishvara Gita starts in the second canto of Kurma Purana. Very interesting. And then it says, Nova Vedatvam Isha Sakshat Viveda, Nova Vishnu No Vidata Kilasya, No Yogindra Nendra Mukyascha Deva, Bhakto Vedatvam Atatvam Prapadye. So, no one, it says again, previously in the previous verse, Vishwanara Maharshi said, Kaktvam Samyak, who can understand you properly? It says, Vedas cannot understand you. Brahma, Vishnu and Indra cannot understand you. That's why in the Brahma Vaivarta Purana, when Krishna and Radha are talking, Krishna says to Radha, I cannot actually measure. I don't know what is the age of Mahadeva. The Shrutis cannot understand. The Shrutis are searching for the lotus feet of Mahadeva. And even I don't know the age of Mahadeva. That's what Krishna says. And even in the Padma Purana, Narada Purana, Vishnu says, I am still searching for your lotus feet. I am still trying to find your lotus feet, oh Mahadeva. I am not able to find. I always want, the only thing that I want, oh Mahadeva, is I want to keep that, your Charanara Vinda, your lotus feet on my head. That is what Vishnu asks. And this is the example of devotion. Brahma, Vishnu and Indra, even Brahma and Vishnu and Indra cannot understand Mahadeva. And the Upanishads are still searching for his lotus feet. And we see many examples from various Puranas also, even the various there are various references also in Bhagavatam. If you see 8th canto 7th chapter 31st verse, it says Nate giri trakila lokapala virinchi vaikunta surendra gamyam. Even Brahma, Vishnu, Virinchi is Brahma, Vaikunta is Vishnu, Surendra is the king of heaven, that is Indra. Even these three personalities cannot understand you, O Mahadeva. It is a stuti that is done to Mahadeva. So there are various references that only Mahadeva can understand himself and surrender to him alone leads, liberates one from the repeated cycles of birth and death. And that's why it says, that's why finally he says, Atastvam prapadye, prapadye, prapadye. That's how Vishwanar Maharshi ends every stuti. And he says, I surrender to you, my Lord. I surrender to you, my Lord. And Note gotram nesha janmapi nakya nova rupam naiva sheelam na tejaha ittam bhutopi ishvaratvam trilokyaha sarvan kaman puraye tat bhajeham. Note gotram. Oh, you don't have a lineage. You don't have a gotra. So, I remember a very beautiful Puranic story where like Parvati Parameshwara Kalyanam happens. And then usually if you see, they see horoscope. If a girl is given to a boy, they will look at the horoscope and see whether everything matches, you know. Right? And they will be interested in getting the gotra and all the nakshatram of the boy and the girl. And then here, Himavan comes and asks, Parvati and Parameshwara are then all the demigods, all the devatas like Indra, Brahma and Vishnu are there. Everybody, all the 33 crore gods, 33 crore devatas including Indra, Brahma and Vishnu have come along with their wives to see Parvati Parameshwara Kalyanam. Because Parvati Parameshwara are Jagataha Pitaro Vande Parvati Parameshwara, Jagat Pita and Jagan Mata, and they are the Jagan Mata and they are the Mata and Pita of even Indra, Brahma and Vishnu, Saraswati, Lakshmi and Indrani. So, and Himavan, who is the father of Parvati Mata, he comes and asks Lord Shiva, what is your gotra? And then Lord Shiva replies, oh Himavan, I don't have a gotra, I don't have a lineage, and also I am not, I don't have a mother and father. So that's what Lord Shiva replies. So he doesn't, he's unborn. He doesn't have a cause. He's the cause of everything. He's the cause of this world. He's the cause of all the devas, including Indra, Brahma and Vishnu. But whereas he doesn't have a cause. And then he says, you have no birth. Nesha janmapi nakya. You are not bound by birth and death. And no name. And you're not bound by any material forms. Your form is not bound to destruction. You have a complete spiritual form. And Ittam bhutopi ishvaratvam trilokyaha sarvan kaman puraye tad bhajeham. And there are many examples if you see. There is a samvadam that happens between Narada Muni and Himavan. In Padma Purana and Matsya Purana it has been mentioned. Parvati Mata would have born like that time in the house of Himavan, and Narada Muni wants to, he grows really ecstatic and he wants to see the Jagannatha. And because she is the mother of this entire universe, and Lakshmi Vani Nishevita, Lalita Trishati says, Lakshmi Vani Nishevita, Lakshmi and Saraswati are fanning her on the two sides. They are actually on her two sides fanning her and serving her lotus feet. Hari Brahmendra Vandita, Hari Brahma and Indra are serving her eternally. Hari is her servant, and Lakshmi and Saraswati are also her eternal servants, Lalitambika's eternal servants. And that Parashakti was born in the house of Himavan. And then Narada Muni grows really ecstatic, and then he comes to see Parvati Mata in the house of Himavan. And then he recites, and then Himavan asks Narada Muni, so can you just look at my daughter and tell me what kind of a husband she will get, and those kind of things. And then Narada Muni replies saying that he says her husband actually is not born, and also she doesn't have any auspicious marks. So Himavan is taken aback by the words of Narada Muni. So he hears okay, his husband is not born. Okay, usually the husband is actually elder to the wife. There is an age gap between the husband and the wife, and usually if a daughter is married to a man, he is usually elder than the lady. So he was confused. Okay, he's not yet born. Oh, okay. And there is one more thing he told. Narada Muni told that she doesn't have any auspicious marks, because usually there are when auspicious marks in the soles of the lotus, in the lotus feet, in the feet and hands, indicate longevity or wealth. If someone has some kind of auspicious marks, that indicates longevity. It's even the palm history, one says if the line is actually in the palm is very long and it touches the bottom of the hand, then it is said that the person lives a long life. So these kind of auspicious marks are missing, and Himavan was taken aback, and then Narada Muni, and then he asks Narada Muni, what kind of statements are you making, oh Narada? And he was taken aback, and then Narada Muni replies, okay, oh Himavan, you have not understood my statements properly. So when I said he's not born, I meant Mahadeva. Your daughter Parvati is going to get married to that Mahadeva who is unborn. He doesn't have birth. He doesn't have death. He's not bound by old age and disease. So he's not born actually. He's never born. He's unborn. And that Mahadeva who is served by Brahma, Vishnu and Indra, even Indra, Brahma and Vishnu are bound to destruction. They are bound by birth and death. And that's what Atharvashika Upanishad says. Brahma, Vishnu and Indra are bound to destruction. And Mahadeva alone is unborn. That unborn Mahadeva is going to get married to Parvati Mata. And the second thing, what I mentioned was, she doesn't have auspicious marks. Auspicious marks indicate longevity and wealth of a person. She is eternal. She is the ultimate Parashakti, who is eternally with Paramashiva, who is also not bound to destruction. She is eternal. Parashakti and Paramashiva. Lokavatu Leela Kaivalyam. Brahma Sutra says this whole world is the sport of Parashakti and Paramashiva. It is just, this whole world is an instrument in the hands of Parashakti and Paramashiva. That Parashakti, who is eternal, how can she bound by any kind of longevity? The auspicious marks indicate longevity, but she is eternal. She is not she's going to be there for 100 years or 200 years. She is eternal. She doesn't have destruction. So Narada Muni clarifies that to Himavan. So very beautiful instances. And another instance that I remember is Parvati Mata. When Parvati Mata gets older and she attains the age to get married, all the rishis actually go and ask Himavan. They ask Parvati Mata for Parameshwara. And then rishis, they will have a talk with Parvati Mata, and then they wanted to test Mahadev. They wanted to test her actually. So, but in reality, Parashakti is, she knows Paramashiva completely, and that's why she was eternally engaging in Madhura Bhavam with Paramashiva from her childhood. But the rishis still wanted to give a test to her. And this is not actually testing Parvati Mata. This is a learning for us. We Jivas, we have to learn from these statements. And rishis say, go and ask Parvati Mata, oh dear Parvati, the daughter of Himavan, why do you aspire Mahadeva to get married? Why do you want to get married to Mahadeva? He is completely with the ashes, and he has 3 eyes, and whereas you have Vishnu, who is Lakshmipati, who is beautiful, and also we have Indra and Brahma and all the other devas like Agni, and these people are there. Why do you want to get married to Mahadeva? And Parvati Mata replies, in fact, she also abuses the sages because they offended by saying, okay, fine, they offended Mahadeva. And this is the attitude that we need to have. You should not hear any Shiva Ninda from our ears. It is the greatest sin. And Parvati Mata says, the personalities that you mentioned, or sages, or rishis, the personalities that you mentioned, Indra, Brahma, Vishnu and Agni, these people are bound to destruction. They are actually not eternal. They are bound by birth, old age, disease and death. But I want to get married to the eternal Mahadeva, unborn, the personality who doesn't have any birth and death. That personality I want to get married to, and that is Mahadeva alone. That's what Parvati Mata replies. So these kind of statements are really interesting. And even there is a Daksha Stuti also. It's like Daksha, as we already know, he was like really arrogant, and he did not invite Parashakti and Paramashiva for the sacrifice that he conducted. He invited everybody in the entire universe, including Brahma and Vishnu. And finally, like we know what happened to him. His head was cut off by Veerabhadra. Veerabhadra came from the hair locket of Mahadeva, and he destroyed the Daksha Yajna because Mahadeva was not invited. The Vedas say that he is the Lord of sacrifice. Mahadeva is the Lord of sacrifice, ultimate Lord of all sacrifices. So there is a Daksha Stuti. There is actually, Daksha abuses Mahadeva, but it becomes a Stuti. So Daksha says, then in one place in the Puranas, he says, I don't know whether he is actually, which lineage he belongs to. I'm not sure whether he is a Brahmana or Vaishya or Kshatriya or Shudra. But which lineage? Mahadeva doesn't belong to any lineage. We saw that Note Gotram. Everything originates from him, and he doesn't belong to any lineage, and he is beyond all those things. And then Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra originate from Mahadeva. Brahmano osya mukhamasi bahura janya krataka uru tadasyagad Vaishya adhyagam Shudro ajayata. It says all the Brahmanas originate from the head of Mahadeva, and then Vaishyas originate from the thighs of Mahadeva, Kshatriyas from the hands of Mahadeva, and then from the feet of Mahadeva are the Shudras. So all the Varnas originate from Mahadeva. And Daksha says, I am not sure whether he is actually a man or a woman. And why? So this also becomes a Stuti. Because Mahadeva is in the form of Ardhanarishwara. He has given half of his body to Parashakti. So he is Ardhanari. So that's why actually. So like his abuse becomes a Stuti in Skanda Purana. So very beautiful. These kind of glorifications are there. Excellent glorifications are there of Mahadeva. So you are the Lord of the 3 worlds. Itam bhutam ishwara tvam trilokyaha sarvan kaman puraye tat bhajeham. You fulfill everyone's desires. And whatever anyone wants, any desire, Mahadeva can even give the post of Indra, Brahma and Vishnu. Upamanyu Maharshi says that in Anushasana Parvam, 18th chapter, 64th verse. He says, Brahmatvam Keshavatvam Shakratvam. Mahadeva can grant the post of Brahma, Keshavatvam, Vishnu Asanam. He can make a Jiva Vishnu, and Shakratvam, that is Indra. So he can grant the positions of Indra, Brahma and Vishnu to a Jiva. Nothing is impossible for Mahadeva. Upamanyu Maharshi says that, and there are many places like Nandishwara says and Andakasura says that in Skanda Purana and Varaha Purana respectively. So he can fulfill everyone's desires, and hence I worship you alone. Tat bhajeham. And then finally, Tvattak sarvam tvahi sarvam smarare. So, O enemy of the god of love, enemy, oh, you are the enemy of Kama. Kamadeva, he tried to incite Kama in the mind of Mahadeva, but that did not happen, and we finally know what happened. Like the Mahadeva opened his third eye and then he was burnt. Kama was burnt into ashes. We know that it's a very beautiful pastime of Mahadeva. And no one except for Mahadeva, everyone are actually have surrendered to Kama in one way. Indra, we see Indra tried to have illicit sex with Gautama's wife Ahalya, and then Agni Deva, and then even Vyasa Maharshi had sex with Gritachi, an apsara called Gritachi, and all the rishis also were tempted towards the apsaras in one way or the other. The Puranas mention Brahma was attracted to Saraswati, and then Mahadeva appeared, and then as Kala Bhairava, he cut off the fifth head of Brahma and destroyed the Ahankara of Brahma. And Vishnu was also attracted to the women in Patala Loka. In Patala Loka, he was attracted to the beautiful women, and then he stayed there. And Mahadeva came and destroyed his Ahankara and made to know about his real nature. So these kind of statements are there where Vishnu, Brahma, Indra, everybody were surrendered to Kama. And there is one place where it says Mohini, Mahadeva actually and Mohini unite together, and then so that is a Shiva Leela. Because the reason is that and everyone will make fun of Mahadeva saying that he fell into Maya, but no, he cannot fall into Maya. Mayam tu Prakritim Vidya Mayinam tu Maheshwaram. Shvetashvatara Upanishad 4.10 says he is actually that controller of Maya. So he cannot actually fall into Maya. So this is actually an interesting Shiva Leela. The reason why actually Shiva unites with Mohini. So like Vishnu took the form of Mohini to confuse the Devas. We know that. And to confuse the Danavas, and then he took the Amrita from the Parkadal and then he gave it to the Devas. And then Lord Shiva appeared in front of him and said, "Oh Vishnu, I heard that you took a Mohini form. You took a Vishwa Mohini form, and then you confused all the Danavas. I want to see that." And here it is mentioned in Brahmanda Purana, Lalita Mahatmyam, very beautiful. It says Vishnu got afraid because he burnt Kamadeva. Mahadeva burnt Kamadeva into ashes. So he was really afraid that if he tried to incite Kamadeva, if he tried to incite desire, Kama, in the mind of Mahadeva, he'll be burnt into ashes. And then he will meditate on Lalita Tripura Sundari, who is the abode of beauty. Matchless beauty, that Abhirami, Parashakti. Abhirami is the most beautiful woman, and Abhirama is the most beautiful man. And Abhirama is referred to Mahadeva, Abhirami is referred to Parashakti. Vishnu meditates on that Parashakti, and Lalita Tripura Sundarani herself manifests in the form of Vishwa Mohini, and then Mahadeva and Vishwa Mohini unite together. So it is Parashakti who is actually Vishwa Mohini. And both of them unite together, and then from that Ayyappa or Shasta is born too, and then he kills Mahishasuri. So that's how the story goes. Tvattak sarvam tvahi swarvam smarare tvam Gaurishaha. You are the Gauri Pati, Parashakti. You are Parvati Pati, Lalitambike Pati. You are that. And twamcha nagnaha. You are naked. Here it says naked, so Mahadeva doesn't have a dress. So one of the names of Mahadeva is Digambara. Dik Ambara. Ambara means dress, and Dik means the four directions. North, east, south and west are his dress. Digam, that's why he's called as Digambara. And you are very peaceful. Atishantaha. Tvam vai vriddha tvam yuva tvam cha balaha tatvam yatkim nasi atak tvam natosmi. You are that old, you are the young, and you are the infantine. That's why Shvetashvatara Upanishad says, Tvam stri, tvam puman asi, tvam kumara utava kumari, tvam jirno dandena vanchasi, tvam jato bhavasi vishvato mukaha. It says, you are that woman, you are that man, you are that small kid, and you are that older person, you are that jirno dandena. And you are old and young. So everything is you, O Mahadeva. Everything is your expansion. This world is actually your sport. Everything belongs to you. That's what it means. and everything is under your control. He is present as our Antaratma, and we are present as his body, and we are his eternal, we are part and parcels of Mahadeva. So, and we are his eternal servants. And Tatvam Yatkim Nasi Atak Tvam Natosmi. So, what are you not? What is not? What is there that is what is there that you are not pervading? Everything is pervaded by you. Sarvo vai Rudraha, Purusho vai Rudraha. Everything is pervaded by you. Therefore, I prostrate before you. So, thank you for giving me this wonderful opportunity, or on giving an upanyasam on Abhilasha Ashtakam. I'll complete the upanyasam by reciting the Kshama Prarthana mantra. यदक्षरपदभृष्टं मात्राहीनं तु यद्भवेत् तत्सर्वं क्षम्यतां देवपरमेश्वर नमोऽस्तुते विसर्गबिन्दुमात्राणि पदपादाक्षराणि च न्यूनानि चातिरिक्तानि क्षमस्व परमेश्वर अपराधसहस्राणि क्रियन्ते हर्निशं मया दासोऽयमिति मां मत्वा क्षमस्व परमेश्वर अन्यथा शरणं नास्ति त्वमेव शरणं मम तस्मात् कारुण्यभावेन रक्ष रक्ष परमः रक्ष रक्ष महेश्वरे अन्यथा शरणं नास्ति त्वमेव शरणं मम तस्मात् कारुण्यभावेन रक्ष रक्ष परमेश्वर एतत् सर्वं श्री उमामहेश्वर परब्रह्मार्पणमस्तु ललिताम्बिके साम्ब शिवार्पणमस्तु श्रीमति गौरी समेत साम्ब शिवार्पणमस्तु करचरणकृतं वाक्कायजं कर्मजं वा श्रवणनयनजं वा मानसं वा अपराधं विहितम् अविहितं वा सर्वम् एतत् क्षमस्व जय जय करुणा अब्दे श्री महादेव शम्भो माता च पार्वती देवी पिता देवो महेश्वर बन्धवा शिवभक्तांश्च स्वदेशो भुवनत्रयम् साम्ब शिवाय नमः साम्ब शिवाय नमः साम्ब शिवाय नमः हर ओं तत्सत्।